Thanks again for tuning into my channel, and we continue the series. And this episode is focused on how I told my children. So, once I was done with my siblings, of course, they rallied around me. They the plan was how to make sure that I had the support I needed on the day of the surgery, and also for my long term care, who was going to be there with me. So all those arrangements were being made, and I would not know how they took it independently away from me, how they felt. Um, of course, what I got from them, they were by me supportive of my decisions and taking the cue from me. I was very positive and they took that cue from me. And my sister, the medical doctor, was happy to leave things in the hands of my uncle. So after every appointment, I would send her stuff, and she knew that there were two eyes on it, my doctor friend, my uncle, and so she just did due diligence looking at it, but knowing that there were people who were on top of it. So now my children, they were in school. Easy decision for me. I was not going to call them. I was going to wait for them to come home. So my youngest son was starting his second year in law school in Berkeley. He was going to be home 13th December. His older brother was in Barcelona for a study abroad program. So as the 13th approached, I knew the younger one would be the first person to come home. I started preparing his mind indirectly. I called him. I said, "Oh, I know how you like to cook your nice dishes. Sometimes I'm in the room and you're cooking these things and they're smelling so nice. When you come home this time, I'm just going to be hands off the kitchen so you can cook for mommy." And she's like, "Of course, I would love to do that." So I was just preparing him in case he comes home and I'm very sick, I can cook, that he would take charge. So I was beginning to have conversations like that. Then his older brother, that is the one that I was having trouble with. The World Cup was going on, and the boy traveled to Qatar, and he's having the time of his life. And I'm seeing him doing certain things, and I'm like, God, bring him home safely. I just don't have enough room for anything to happen to him. I'm already dealing with so much. Of course, he's not aware of that. I remember the day the World Cup finals after Argentina won. Barcelona was on fire, the whole place, and he sends me this video. He's hanging on a wall somewhere with thousands of the people out there. He has climbed up some wall, and I'm like, "Hey, Papa God, the picking for that who talks away here. What, I don't just have the stamina to deal with any more than I'm dealing. God, pity me. I can't handle anymore." But of course, I can't tell him. So here I am going through this, and he's there having the time of his life, and I am sitting at the edge of my seat. And there were so many moments. He's my first son. I was relinquishing a few things to him, bank accounts, this, that, because I wanted a situation where he's out there and we used to do some money transactions. I don't want a situation where he needs money from me and maybe I'm in hospital or something. So, but he did not understand why I was suddenly just giving him all this access. So that was hard because I am trying to bring him down to cut down some of his adventures, but how do I cut it down without revealing that something is going on? So, anyway, December 13th, younger son comes home. Give him food, he eats, and I said, son, I have something to tell you. So we sit on the couch, and I'm like, this is what is happening here. Told him everything. And he just opened his arms wide and gave me a hug, tight hug. And when we disentangled, he said, Mommy, we got this. You know, my kids are both soccer players and they have this athletic vibes to the things they do. So we fist bumps. It's like, Mommy, we got this. So we did. And then he said, but Mommy, I'm worried. I said, about what? He said he was worried about his brother. Now he's a younger brother and he's worried about his older brother. I said, why? He said, I don't know. You know, this will be hard on him. I said, well, these things happen. I hope by the time he knows what I have done and the way I'm looking at this, he will be able to handle it. So he was coming home on Christmas Day. Now it was challenging for me because he was running a fever and I was worried. He started the fever in Barcelona that morning he was supposed to leave, and he went and consulted. He was not able to do a COVID test. So I am worried because I am compromised. I don't want anything to compromise me further. I am getting ready for my surgery. So, first of all, he was arriving in Boston. There was no way I was going to go pick him up. I had to explain that to him, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to get infected. We have to be very proactive with these things. And he was like, wow, you guys are taking this COVID thing too serious. So I told him, you need to mask up when you come. Okay, we are going to mask up and let's quarantine a little bit till you do a test and we know that, you know, you came in through multiple flights, and so we just have to be very cautious. So I just made it as if we're just being extremely cautious. And well, he knew that during COVID I was very hard, and so it was not too difficult for him to believe that it's just me being mommy and trying to make sure that our family is safe. So he came in wearing his mask, and we booked a COVID test and all that. But before he came, I asked his younger brother, I said, so how are we handling this? Should I tell him before we eat our Christmas meal, or should we do dinner first? Then I tell him. And his brother said, no, Mommy, we need to tell him before dinner. I don't want any awkwardness at dinner. Let's just get it out of the way. So he got there. After pleasantries with his mask, I have my mask. Came in. So he sat between his brother and me. I think he had a mask. I don't think we had masks. He had the mask. So I'm sitting between the two of them. So I said, well, how are you? Then I said, well, here's our update. And I told him, I want to say that my frame of mind was very, extremely positive, in the sense that I had done better than my parents. My kids were much older than I was when I lost my parents. They were also in terminal degree programs. So I told myself that if this was it, I think I would go satisfied. I At the end of their programs, they already have jobs. You know, they already had jobs planned for them. They already, in fact, they all signed contracts already, and one had a contract, and one, it was just a question of time that summer after his internship to sign his own contract. So I just, I was in a good place. So when I told his, when I told my older son, explained everything, just like his brother had said, he didn't receive it as calmly as his brother. He was shocked, confused, and he looked at me, looked at his brother, looked at me. He said, "You people are pranking me? Is this a prank?" And I said, "No, it's not a prank." And his brother is just looking, staring at him. He's like, "Come on." He's looking at his brother to make a sign that it's a prank. And his brother is just staring at him. And he's like, "You guys are pranking me. You guys are pranking me." I'm like, "No, it's not a prank, my son." So after that back and forth, "Are you pranking me? Is this a prank?" He was finally convinced that it was not a prank. Then he left. I gave him a few things. I said, You can go research it to see what we are looking at." So he left, went to the room. I realized that he went to go Google, read things. A few minutes later, he came back to the living room and he said, "Mommy, I've read. The chances of survival are very high for this level of breast cancer. Yes, anything can happen on the way in the course of treatment, but I think we got this." And then, just like his brother, he gave me a fist bump. And we were relatively okay that evening. Now he understood why I was talking about the mask and stuff, so he became even more careful. We booked the COVID test, which he did, and it was negative. And we had dinner, and we started planning. Now the fun part the next day. So apparently, he has not just read up about the disease, but is also reading on things to do. And so he comes the next day to me and said, "Mommy, I think it's time for we need to start doing some housekeeping things." I'm like what, son? So are we resuscitating? Oh, the African woman in me gonna say, "Yeah, mother, we are not resuscitating what? I'm how old that we are not resuscitating?" Oh, so you've gonna picked up a checklist online and you're coming to do a checklist with me. We're freaking resuscitating. And that is how, with good humor, we started discussing a living will, what I would want. That's when I realized that, well, I have two sons. There are certain things, if there could be a tie in decision making. So I need to find somebody who would break that tie. And so, just like that, I started thinking of a living will. What happens? What would I want if I can't talk for myself? Who would I want to talk for me? What are those decisions that I would want taken? And just like that, we started discussing these things as a family. And I realized that my children are old enough, and they're not, it's not too early. In fact, I was so happy for the opportunity that we could plan these things. and uh, and I was glad that my older son decided to take things seriously, look forward with the kind of attitude that I admired. Um, I was glad with myself that I had raised them that way, that the news of my illness did not throw them in a frenzy. They were just ready, they rolled off their sleeves. Uh, David took the lead as the older son, and we started putting things down. And because of that, when it was getting near to the day of surgery, I called him and I said, "Son, your aunties would be here, but on the day of surgery, you are old enough. In fact, you are the age that my sister was when we lost our parents. So you can do this. You are going to be the spokesperson for the family on that day." I said, "The good thing is that you're wrapping up your final year in law school. So I think you have the knowledge to advocate for your mother in the absence of her advocating for herself. So that is a role I think you can play. You think you can do it?" He says, "Of course, Mom." And that is how he was empowered to take charge. So again, I just hope that sharing would help others. This journey, in spite of the advances that science has made, this journey remains very emotionally taxing because of the connotative value of the disease, because of the many things that could go wrong. The illness itself may not kill you, but the treatment, the side effects, the mental bandwidth that you have to endure may take their toll. So I'm just hoping that in sharing my story, someone may find at least an idea or something that may make their own journey easier. So thank you again for listening. And next up, surgery day. Surgery day. And and other things before surgery day.